So I just drove past this place and I almost didn't stop, but I figured I had to. This place, the Alien Center. That is fantastic. Oh my God. I'm actually upset that I've never had this before. Gloomy day out. I think it's supposed to rain soon. And honestly, when I got here last night, I thought that was a river, which I guess it looks like it is sometimes, maybe when it rains, but it was so dark last night. It's new moon. So there was no moonlight. It was also freezing cold, so I've got my heater going. I'll probably turn it off now. But we are currently in Beatty, Beatty, Nevada. It was a little loud last night because this is kind of like a pseudo truck stop. It's not an actual truck stop. It's just a parking lot on the side of the highway. But a lot of trucks were using it as a truck stop, kind of like myself last night. And it was cold, so they left their engines on to stay warm, or their APU, whatever you want to call it. I don't know if trucks have an APU or if that's just planes. They keep a generator on of some sort. Woo, that stinks like propane. So I just use the 20-pound propane tank for heat at night. So I always have to disconnect it. And I gotta make sure it's connected in the morning correctly, because sometimes it's not. Looks like we're cooking with gas, which is good. It's breakfast time. I know it kind of looks, honestly, a little unsettling. Looks like dog food on an egg. But I promise it's not. Those are in fact pre-cooked, pre-packaged sausage bites that I just threw in the pan and then put my eggs on top of. I'm gonna sprinkle these eggs with a little bit of Parmesan. And this will make my Parmesan sticky. This will make my ketchup lovers happy. I'm out of ketchup. All I've got is sriracha and Koopy. So that's what we're gonna have to use on our breakfast sandwich. I used to really think that there was no practical reason to have heated floors in a van. And I truly do still think that it's way overkill and is not necessary in any van ever. But it would be nice to not have freezing cold toes every single morning that I wake up. Boom. A little bit of this and a little bit of that. Breakfast is served. So I genuinely have no plan for today, other than I know that I have to be, oh, come on, in Las Vegas in a few days for an event that I'm going to. So the only goal for today is to get slightly to moderately closer to Vegas. Before we leave the spot we're at right now, I gotta wait for the stove to cool off so I can close that. It was so dark outside last night that I genuinely don't know what it looks like outside. I guess, yeah, what I expected. Mountains. There's a casino right there. I went there last night and got Denny's. But yeah, the reason I gotta wait for this to cool down is because this like little cabinet mesh, I put it down under this glass top to stop it from rattling while I'm driving. And if I don't wait for the stove to cool off, it'll melt it. Let's get out of here and figure out where we're going and what we're doing today. Might check out this little town of Beatty. Because it did look kind of cool at night when I was driving through. There was a lot of Christmas lights. Seemed like a lot of Christmas spirit. Also, I know this person can park there, and maybe I'm being a little bit irrational, but it just feels weird to park in line with me, like pointing directly at me, sitting in your driver's seat. They're far enough away to where it's not really that weird, but it just feels like we're at a Mexican standoff here. But anyways, let's get out of here. I also find it so funny that there's still hotels with signs up that advertise having free Wi-Fi and HBO as like a benefit to staying at their hotel, like everywhere doesn't have Wi-Fi and HBO. Oh, look at that. We got the Sourdough Saloon, Smokin' Jay's Barbecue. Oh, that place looks cool. It's a cool looking casino. Oh, this place has free Wi-Fi. and ESPN. All right, so I just pulled over on the side of the road, try to figure out where we're going, what we're doing. I think I'm just gonna drive in the general direction of Vegas and make a few stops along the way. First one I want to stop by, this looks kind of cool, is this house. Oh, there's a donkey up there. Hang on, I want to go see that donkey. Hello, donkeys. Morning. Anyways, we're gonna go check out this old ghost town that's right nearby, and supposedly a house that's made completely out of glass bottles. I don't really know what this place is, but I know there's a ghost town up that way, and then the bottle house is over there, but there's a bunch of statues and, I don't know, art over here. And it looks like a statue of Donald Trump, like pixelated. But I guess maybe not, because it's got long hair. These guys are kind of cool. I actually don't know what or who that's supposed to be, if anyone. But it's definitely not Donald Trump, because it's got pixelated boobs. Ah, see, that's what I thought it looked like. I thought it looked like The Last Supper. And it is, The Last Supper, 1984. Anyways, there's no real signage anywhere, so I don't know what all this is. Nice little rock spiral, though. I'm also not really sure what's up with the desert or why it attracts so many, like, sculptures and artists, and there's just so many, I feel like, random spots down here in the Mojave Desert and the surrounding area that just are covered with these random sculptures in the middle of nowhere. I guess maybe it's because the land is cheap, so it's just a easy place to put it. So this is the Tom Kelly Bottle House, and it was built in the early 1900s out of 50,000 glass bottles, used kind of as a brick for the building, and then held together by this mortar paste. And the reason that he used bottles instead of wood is because out in the desert, as you can see, there's not a lot of trees except for that one. So wood is pretty scarce and pretty expensive, and bottles were easy to come by. So he paid a bunch of children $3 a barrel to bring bottles up here, and he built the house out of bottles. It's also a great insulator. It keeps the house cool in the summertime and then warm in the winter, kind of like a greenhouse effect. Other than that, it just looks cool. There's even some squared off bottles. But initially it didn't have a porch or a chimney and some other things, and then there was a movie that was filmed here where they tore down the back wall to film inside and then rebuilt it and did some structural stuff. But he actually auctioned off the house instead of selling it and lost $500 on the deal. And now it's one of the few remaining bottle houses in America and is a historical site. It's kind of like functional art. Pretty cool. And honestly, if this wasn't such a historical site, it would be so much fun to like set up 30 yards over there with a 22 or like an air rifle and just like pew, 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 ping out each one of these bottles. They've also got this place locked down like a velociraptor lives inside of it. Heavy duty, like concrete filled steel poles, barbed wire. A little much, but I guess it's a glass house. Don't throw stones. And then just up the road from that bottle house is the ghost town of Rhyolite, which used to be a bustling town. As you can see now, it's kind of just skeletons and facades, and honestly, mostly foundations. A lot of the buildings aren't even here anymore. All you can see are kind of the remnants of them. Even this one's better than most of them. And this town's kind of cool because unlike the towns I went to in my last video, if you haven't watched that, go watch that here. This town lost its purpose of being a mining town / railroad hub and completely faded away to history. I guess at least mostly because from what I'm reading on these little info boards is that this town pretty much died as quickly as it got built up. It was built up in 1906. They rush built a railroad, that being the rail depot, which turned a profit its first year and then lost money every single year after that. It's kind of cool too. You can see off in the distance all around here, honestly, in almost every single hillside, as you look around, there's a bunch of holes in the side of these mountains where the mines were, where they were looking for gold. But yeah, it is pretty cool to come to places like this and kind of walk down the main street and look at all the signs and the pictures and kind of try to envision what it would have looked like back in its heyday. And an interesting fact I read on one of the signs is that most of the houses, they either disassembled for the supplies or just picked up and moved other places when they found out that there wasn't enough gold here to sustain the town. But this desert air is like drying me out like nothing else. And I've been walking around this town for about an hour, kind of sweating without even really realizing it, which a lot of the times is why I probably feel so wrecked at the end of my days. So it is a good thing that I have Element. I keep these in the van at all times. This is my favorite flavor, orange salt, but they've got tons of flavors. I've got even a few of the lemonade salts in here, but they're super nice to have, especially when I'm in dry, airy, waterless places like I am in the desert. And what Element is an electrolyte drink mix with everything that you need and nothing that you don't. No sugar, no artificial ingredients, no weird fillers, just electrolytes. And I like it because when you're sweating and walking around, especially in these dry, arid environments like I am, you're losing the sodium in your body and you need to replace it. And if you don't replace that sodium, that's when you get headaches, you get tired, you get cramps, or just feel a little bit foggier. An Element has a science-backed ratio of electrolytes with 1,000 milligrams of sodium plus potassium and magnesium. And this stuff isn't just for athletes. I use it all the time when I'm traveling, when I'm working out, or just when I'm spending long days outside like I am today. And it's refreshing and it tastes good, which is good because then I actually drink it instead of forgetting. And right now, Element is offering my viewers a free 8-count sample pack with any order. That is 8 single serving sample packs like this one, totally for free, which is a great way to try out a bunch of flavors and see which one you might like best. And you can get it at drinkelement.com/Ryan Toomey. And again, that is DRINKLMNT.com/Ryan Toomey. And you can only get it through my link, which will be in the description below. So now that we're all hydrated, fueled up, and ready to go, let's hit the road. So I just drove past this place and I almost didn't stop, but I figured I had to. This place, the Alien Center. No idea what it is, but when you're out in the middle of nowhere and you see a bunch of signs with aliens on them, I feel like you almost have to stop. And if there's one thing I'm a sucker for, it's roadside attractions.
I wouldn't do any hitchhiking around here if I were you.
All right, so that was pretty much exactly what you expected it would be. Just a bunch of alien trinkets and a little alien like sandwich shop. I was looking at other places I could stop on my way down towards Vegas, and the next place is pretty cool. It's like a natural spring in the middle of the desert that has fish in it that are only found in that spring and nowhere else on Earth. It's about 30 minutes away, so I will see you guys when we get there. So we just got here to the Ash Meadow Wildlife Reservation, and I went inside to the visitor center and I talked to the lady that was in there, and she gave me some pointers for the best places to go and view the springs and the fish. And the fact that there's even springs out here is kind of crazy because this is one of the driest places I've ever been in my life. I'm kicking up a ridiculous amount of dust. But apparently at one of these spots called Devil's Hole, there are these fish called Devil's Hole pupfish, and they are the rarest fish in the entire world. And they live in some deep underground cavern below the water table here in the Mojave Desert. And it is getting pretty windy out here. I don't know if you guys are gonna be able to see it on camera, but there's a dust storm that's kicking up over there, off in the distance. This is it. First of the springs, where you can see some of the little pupfish down there. You can see the electric blue on those pupfish. I hope they're showing up on camera. And these are natural warm water springs, so they stay around 87 degrees Fahrenheit all year round, no matter what the temperature is outside. And the reason that this water is so crystal clear and electric blue is because it's filtered through limestone over thousands and thousands of years. It takes it out and makes it this electric blue. But this is just one of many springs that are like on this wildlife refuge. The lady at the visitor center said this one's the best for viewing and actually seeing the pupfish because you can actually get up close and there's not as much grass in the way of seeing into the pond. But I just found it so interesting. I was asking her, how did the pupfish get here when I was up at the visitor center? And she said they just kind of evolved here. And then I looked it up and there's no real theory for how these fish got in here. Some people say that they got here from the river, swam in, everything dried up and they got trapped in these pools. Others think it was bird droppings or humans thousands and thousands of years ago. And then the other one is they traveled through all of the underground subterranean caverns and underground networks of water to end up here. But it is pretty cool because when you're looking at them, you're looking at living fossils that have been swimming around these waters before there was even humans on North America. But I think the really cool one is the next one. It just might not be as visually cool with the electric blue waters, is Devil's Hole, where there's a specific type of pupfish called the Devil's Hole pupfish that is the rarest fish in the entire world. And that little hole, I guess it's not really little, is the only place on Earth where they live. You got this place locked down like Fort Knox. I guess when you got the rarest fish in the world, that makes sense. That's what they look like. Wow. You can see the blue in the water. I don't know if the camera's gonna pick it up, but it's still getting just a little bit of light in that back corner, and you can see how blue it is down there. And they have all these stairs and stuff that go down here because I'm sure they go down in there and check on the fish and make sure everything's okay. And also there was National Geographic divers went down there because if you look at this kind of map of the underground caverns, it's massive. It's not actually as massive as it looks because that is kind of like a pancake viewing of it. So if you cut it along the y-axis, it looks like this massive cavern. But if you cut along the x-axis, it just looks like this skinny little strip of water that's like basically like a crevasse that's just full of water. And the full extent of the cave down there is unknown. It's known to be at least 500 feet deep, but not every crack has been explored, so they don't really know. It could go on forever, it could connect to the ocean. So we can't see them right now, but there's probably at least one of the world's rarest fish in this frame. Sucks you can't get down there closer, but I guess it makes sense. There's also this like really ominous like high-pitched ringing noise that I don't know what it is. Anyways, not much more to see here. You're kind of locked in a cage. So from here, we're gonna probably head in town, pick up some supplies, and then find somewhere to camp, probably out in the desert. Made it back into town. Van is covered in a thick layer of dust from that road. I'm gonna have to shake my sheets out once I find somewhere to camp tonight. But we are currently at Walmart because I'm getting some stuff for dinner tonight. And tonight for dinner, we are cooking a subscriber's suggestion. This one comes from an Instagram poll that I did a few weeks ago, and it was suggested by Corey. He said to make Mapo Tofu over rice, which is something I've never had before. I don't think I've ever cooked with tofu, so it sounds interesting. Shout out to you if you're watching this video for suggesting that. That's what we're gonna go inside and get ingredients for. So we've got mostly everything we need. I'm going to absolutely butcher this recipe though, so I'm gonna apologize in advance. I've had to substitute like 4 or 5 of the major ingredients. So we'll see how it comes out. That was the most stressful shopping experience I've ever had at Walmart. So packed. Everyone in this town was at Walmart at the same time. But we've got everything, hopefully. I did have to make some substitutions, but we'll see if we can make it work. And I think for camp tonight, I'm just gonna find somewhere kind of close by to where we're at. I don't feel like driving too much further, so we'll have to see what's around the area once I get all of my new groceries put away. We can hit the road. All right, I had to drive around for a while. There's quite a few, I don't know if you can see them, people out here. A lot more down there. People who look like they live out here permanently, but we're a little bit farther away from the city back here. I don't know if you can even see it on this camera. That sun is crazy bright. Sunset's gonna be nice tonight. The city's right down there. And then some snow-capped mountains. I opted to face the mountains instead of facing the city. So that way the sunset isn't as blinding, but I'm going to, before I do anything else out here at camp, get this wiped down. All right, got it all clean. I took my sheets out, shook them off too to get the dust and dirt off, and then I laid down for like 20-30 minutes because I was just tired. I almost fell asleep. Oh, beautiful night. These clouds look spectacular. Mountains off in the distance are glowing. Look at that. B-E-A. Beautiful. I think before we completely lose the light, I'm gonna grab my picture and take some, I'm gonna grab my camera and take some pictures. Look at that glow we're getting on those mountains over there. So incredible. But anyways, let's get to cooking some dinner. Okay. Ingredients. So unfortunately with this suggested dish, there wasn't a recipe also provided. So I've had to look up my own. And then also the Walmart in this small town in the middle of the desert doesn't have a bunch of very specialty Asian items. So I had to make dobanjang, I think that's how you say it. But I had to substitute that for gochujang. And then they didn't have Chinese 5-spice powder at the Walmart, but luckily I have some in my van. They didn't have any Szechuan peppercorns, so I got this Szechuan chili sauce, so at least it's got some Szechuan flavor in there. And I think that might be it for the substitutions, but there probably is more. But without further ado, let's get to prepping. First things first, we gotta marinate our pork. And I think we need about that much. And yes, that is a precise measurement. That much is that much. You can look it up in a cooking textbook. But to our that much pork, we can add soy sauce, about 2 teaspoons. Sherry cooking wine. You should get the Shaoling, S-H-A-O-X is Shaoing cooking wine. Shaojing. Is X a J? Shaoxing. Okay. Shaoxing cooking wine, which they didn't have. This is another substitute I had to make, so I'm using sherry cooking wine. Close enough substitute. About 1 tablespoon of that. And then 2 teaspoons of fresh, hand-picked minced ginger. That's definitely not from a bottle. And we can get that all mixed together and set that to the side and let it marinate for 10 to 20 minutes. And then while we wait for that, I'm going to cook up some rice. Now that we've got that stuff going, we can add a little bit of oil to our other pan. And then to that pan, we will add garlic, which we will cook until it's nice and fragrant. And the van is on a slight slant, so all of the oil is kind of piling up on one side of the pan. Then we can add our ground pork. And our impromptu spicy bean paste of gochujang. And then I got this, because it's like a nice umami, peppery, garlicky goodness to balance out the kind of difference in the gochujang. I don't know if that's the right choice, but either way, that's going in there, along with some of the seasoning. And then we'll cook that all the way through until the meat is fully cooked. And while we wait for that to cook, take another look at the sunset through my dirty window. And then once that is cooked through, this is about the time we would add our Szechuan peppercorn, which I don't have. So we're going to be using whatever this is instead and scooping out the good stuff. So we'll add some of that. Some Chinese 5-spice. Sugar. Some chicken bouillon powder. Some chili oil, which I'm just going to add the Szechuan chili oil. And then finally, some chicken stock. And now we'll just kind of combine that whole mixture and bring it up to a boil. And while I wait for that to come to a nice boil, I'm going to get the van cleaned up because I've got stuff literally everywhere. That definitely looks like lava. I'm hoping it doesn't come out the same way. Now that that has gotten up to a nice rolling boil, we can add in our cornstarch slurry, which is just 1 tablespoon of cornstarch, 1 tablespoon of water to thicken that sauce up. And then the final piece is the tofu. I couldn't find the silky tofu, which is what you need, so we had to get the firm. I don't know what the exact difference is, or if there is a difference, but one thing that I do know is that in Japan, they have a specific knife for tofu. When I was at the knife shop getting my fancy Japanese knives, I was shopping around and they said, like asking about the different types of knives, and they said, there's this one that's made specifically for tofu. I don't know what makes it for tofu or not. Maybe it's more delicate. Anyways, just found it interesting. But I'm just cubing this up in my hand. Tofu is really soft, so you don't have to worry about me cutting myself. And then we'll just throw that in there and we'll cook that up just basically until the tofu gets warm. And I'm going to try to gently stir these tofu bits in so that they don't go breaking up on me. There we go. That is pretty much it finished. We got our rice. Top this lovely concoction with some green onions to make it look nice and pretty. And that, my friends, is hopefully a pretty decent looking
Mapo Tofu, at least once I serve it. But let's get it plated up, see how it looks all put together and presented. All right, grand reveal of the finished product. There we go, that is my Mapo completed dish, but it looks good. Not gonna lie, I didn't have high hopes when I read tofu and decided to make it. It's not something I eat very often. It's not something I've ever really cooked. So cheers to something new every day. That is fantastic. Oh my God. I'm actually upset that I've never had this before. This is insanely good. But if this is what it tastes like, and this isn't even the right recipe, I can't imagine what this tastes like when it is the right recipe. Oh my God. It's like perfectly sweet, perfectly spicy, nice umami flavors, salty but not too salty. It's honestly really that balance between sweet and spicy that makes this like so good. It's like a Thai chili wing with a little bit more spice. And I was worried that the tofu was going to take away from how good this is, but it genuinely, it adds to it. It makes it taste better. I think it would be worse if the tofu wasn't in there. Corey, I just sent you a DM on Instagram thanking you for suggesting this dish. Because this is like a dish that's kind of like not something I'd look at normally and be like, you know what, I'm going to get that. I'm going to get the tofu pork over rice. Just because it doesn't sound like, to my palate, appealing, but oh my God. That is a wonderful piece of food right there. Anyways, that's enough about me gassing it up. If you guys don't believe me, you'll just have to try it for yourself. Make it. It's super simple. It took me like 20 minutes. This is one of the ones, 10 out of 10, I would recommend. If I had to give this a rating, I'm going to go 8-7 out of 10. And I think I might eat the entire bowl. So, I'm gonna try to do that. I'm not gonna lie, that was a lot of food. That was like a half pound of beef. I don't know how much tofu weighs. That was at least a half pound of tofu. That was insanely delicious. But I think with that dish made me extremely tired. Put me into like a little bit of a food coma. And the sun is set, and we are. City looks cool. City lights at night. Off in the distance. But we're in the middle of a field. There's not really much else to do, so I'm gonna hit the hay, go to bed, wake up, do it all again, drive some more. I think that is it for this video. As always, I truly appreciate you guys watching. I would not be here today without you guys. It really is awesome that I am able to do this and that I get to continue to do this. And I can't believe it's been 3-4 years that I've been doing it, but I'm gonna get to bed. So I will see you guys next time.